I want you to all like visualize a business person on the streets of Manhattan. Maybe they're late for a meeting. Maybe they just had a really stressful argument and they are trying to get from point A to point B on the streets, the crowded streets of Manhattan. You can all imagine that, right? Maybe you've even been there. So we're going to walk back and forth from here to the solar panels, and you're going to be that person. So I want you to take on that body language. Maybe you're kind of leaning forward, looking at the ground, maybe looking at your watch or your phone. And what I want you to do is, while you're doing that, plug your ears. And I want you to listen to the impact of your foot on the ground. Ready? So we're all going to do that. Just take a minute and just plug your ears. Plug your ears and just like, you're late for work. Go.
Here we go.
Could you feel the impact when your foot hit the ground? Mm-hmm. Did it feel jarring?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to do that again. This time, see if you can walk to the solar panels and back without feeling that jarring feeling, without feeling the impact of your feet on the ground. So let's go ahead and try it again. Plug your ears and just do it again. Okay, so when we walk the first way, do you think the animals notice?
Yes.
They notice in a huge way. They feel that impact. The animals can sense us coming, and then what do you think they do?
Run away.
They run away. So is that what you want? Do you want animals to run away from you everywhere you go? I don't. So how can we not get the animals to scatter? So we're gonna talk about that now. We're gonna talk about different ways. But one of the ways is not walking through the world. So the second way where we walked, you can kind of see like, oh, okay, if I change the way I walk, I have less of an impact on the ground and less of an impact on the planet if you extend it out. So we're going to practice that again, but this time you're going to take a cup. And your cup is full to the rim with imaginary Dom Perignon champagne that someone's paying $50 for this glass of champagne. You can't spill a drop. That's going to come out of your paycheck. Everybody grab a cup.
Here we go. Pass these around.
You're a waiter. You're dependent on this job to make your living. You can't afford to spill a drop of this liquid because you got to pay the bills. So you got to get quickly, or not so quickly, but you got to get to those solar panels and back without spilling a drop of this liquid. Go. Don't spill any. It's coming out of your paycheck. Tut, 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 tut. Okay, you can put the cups back down now. So we call that, there's different names for it, but one of the names we have for that is called gliding. And some people, when they teach it, they go into the mechanics of like, well, you put the palm of your foot down, and then you roll to the side, and then you roll back to the heel. You slowly lift up the other foot, balancing on one foot, put the next foot in front of you, step on the side, roll down to the heel. And I've found that if you give people a glass of water and tell them to walk across the field, they just do it naturally. You don't have to explain the mechanics to them. Especially if we had put water in there and you really couldn't spill a drop, you would have been even more careful about how you walk and how you step. So I didn't feel the need to go into the mechanics of it, but I want to get the concept down, that it's possible to walk incredibly lightly on the earth and walk with a lot of intention. You know, I can walk and stand on one foot until I'm ready to make the next step. And my foot doesn't go down until I've decided now's the time to put my foot down. So there's ways of walking, there's ways of being, there's ways of moving on this planet that are going to have less impact. And there's ways of moving on this planet that are going to have more impact. So it's important to start thinking about that and where you fit in that spectrum. How do you walk in this world? What's the impact when you walk in this world? And it even starts before then. So you go out to nature, you go out to the park, you want to go birding. What's the first thing you do? You get out of your car and you slam the door. What's the message that that's sending? Or might not even, stupid, you could use that word, but I just want to go back to that question. Why aren't you paying attention? Such a great question. Why aren't you paying attention?
Fairies.
I know, the fairies have come to visit us.
So another term, whenever we teach kids to do that, we use the term fox walking. But we actually avoid using that term and talking about fox walking because foxes are incredibly sneaky and they're super silent. It's amazing. They can move through the forest silently. But for our purposes, and so what we're talking about are actually ways, maybe you have or haven't picked up on this yet, but birds have a tendency to be alarmed by us. But we can actually change our behavior to change that. And so we're kind of showing you some things because as you go out there and you're listening, if you want to go out and start listening and looking at birds, you're going to initially just scare them off for the most part. Like you're going to alarm them and disrupt baseline. And so these are actually techniques to not disrupt baseline. So we don't call it fox walking because if you're trying to sneak like a fox, that's alarming. Like, hey, somebody's sneaking around down there. I don't know what they're up to, but everybody look out. And so, you're gliding. You're just smoothly moving across the landscape. So that's the distinction there.
Mm-hmm. The distinction being intention. What's your intention? To sneak up or just to be?
Right. If you're being sneaky, they see a sneaky person, and that's alarming. It just in the same way, if you saw a sneaky person walking around your house, you'd be like, sneaky person, call the police or whatever, Same deal. But if somebody's just kind of like walking by, it's like, oh, it must be a neighbor. I wonder what they're doing. Oh, they're Frisbee. Yeah,
The song sparrow here is giving a little mild trick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, he is not happy. It must be you. Who had said they saw a nest over here? But where is the nest?
It's right in the bank, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we are awful close to this bird's nest, and it's not happy.
Yeah, it doesn't like that. Okay, so another technique, we call this owl eyes. And so what you're going to do is put your arms out in front of you and look at your fingers. Your focus is going to be on your fingers, the tips of your fingers. And now slowly start to open your hands. And your goal is to, rather than looking at your fingers, try to see both of them in your field of vision at the same time. You're going to keep opening your arms, and you might wiggle your fingers a little bit. Your gaze is going soft. And see how far you can open your arms and still see the tips of those fingers wiggling. And then maybe go beyond that peripheral vision, go beyond what you can see, and then slowly move back in until you can see those fingers wiggling again. And once you've got that, once you've got the very edge of your peripheral vision, take a look at your arms. See where your arms are. So that's actually the entire field of your vision. There's a tendency for humans to focus on single things and not take in the entirety of their field of vision. And when you hone in on a single thing, like when we looked at that song sparrow, when all of us were suddenly like, oh, look at the song sparrow, it startled it, it left because we were looking at it. But if we had all kept our gaze soft and simply observed it off to the side a little bit and didn't look at it and point directly, it might have actually gone to its nest in that moment to check on its babies. Does that make sense? So yeah, we call it owl eyes because you're taking in the entire scene and softening your gaze. And by doing that, like directly looking and pointing is alarming to most wild creatures, including birds. Here. Cool, so there you go, that's owl eyes.
So let's all face this direction. And go ahead and cup your hands behind your ears.
Put your hands behind your ears.
And see if you can hear that bird that's going, drink your tea. See how it's going? And then like a little trill at the end. Now take your hands away from your ears and see what you can hear without. Go ahead and put your hands back and just, see how that cupping action improves your hearing. Now hold your hands up so the cups are facing backwards, as if you're trying to listen behind you. Notice how the birds are starting to sing again. Now cup it so that you're preferencing sounds above you. Try to listen up above you. And down below. That's good. So we call that deer ears. You can, imagine those deers. They have those big ears stick up inside their head that they move. They can change the direction of their ears to focus their hearing in one direction. So we're going to do a little thing. Let's everybody gather over here in a line facing that way with your backs to us. Cup your ears to preference hearing behind you. So nod your head if you can hear me.
Okay, nod your head if you can hear me. Can you hear me now? 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 Okay, so go ahead and turn around. So I was speaking in this tone. I don't know if you can hear me now, but that's the difference between deer ears and no deer ears. So like we said, like I was saying earlier, I have this belief that all the animals have different superpowers. And so that's why we talk about fox walking and deer ears and owl eyes, because we can observe what they do and kind of glean something from it and apply it to our own lives. So those were some exercises to kind of get you moving your body and feeling what it's like to be more sensitive to that baseline alarm reality, because they're paying close attention to what we do and the birds are responding to us. And it's one of the surprising things that will come out of studying bird language. And like the more you start tuning into it and paying attention, what you'll find out is that they're watching you. And they'll tell you things about yourself that you maybe didn't even know. You know, if you're in a bad mood, they will respond to you as if like you might pull a seat alarm out of them. And if you're relaxed, then they stay relaxed. And so they're a great mirror. You can actually use the birds to catch yourself, to say, oh, right, I walked out the front door and immediately there was this whole, mess that happened. I startled the robins, and the Carolina wrens were disturbed. And, I'm realizing now that I've witnessed that I had that exchange with my partner this morning and I'm still upset about it. And they're reading that. Like they'll read those subtleties. I mean, remember, like their sight is better than ours, their hearing is better than ours. Like they're watching and picking up on subtle cues and paying close attention and reading into it. And so what we want to offer you we call it the honoring routine. And these are just some basic, very simple things, practices that you can use to start and shift that. And so the fox walking or the glide, the deer ears and the owl eyes, those are 3. So imagine that we call it the lazy surveyor. So you're a surveyor. Your job is to just note things happening. And you're getting paid by the hour. You're not in any hurry. And so rather than, I've got this agenda, I've got to get this, and this done, when you're moving around in the world, you're relaxed. Like I said, no agenda, just taking it in, looking around. Like imagine, like kind of allow yourself to feel that, like what it is to be a lazy surveyor. As if there's actually a benefit, like the slower you go, the more you gain, basically, is the idea. Like, I don't want to hurry. That's actually a bad idea. Another one that we use a lot, and we started it this morning, is gratitude. If you're setting the intention of going out to observe birds, I would recommend that as the very first thing you do. Even if you just do it with yourself. Just take a moment and take stock. Essentially count your blessings. Name things that you're feeling grateful for. even if it's just in your head, because that actually shifts your brain chemistry. Like it's scientifically proven now that a practice of gratitude actually improves a lot of aspects of your life, and it's a physiological effect. So we definitely promote that at all times, and the birds notice if you're grateful, for sure. Yeah, another one is to smile authentically. Just like a smile on your face changes things. And of course, I mean, you know that as a human interacting with other humans, if somebody is smiling authentically, you feel very different approaching them than you would if they were scowling, or even if they just have a blank look on their face and you can't read it, what's going on with them.
There's a really cool thing going on there too. There's things called mirror neurons, that when we do something and people see it, there's an internal mechanism that makes them want to do whatever it is that we're doing. So if you smile at someone, even if they don't physically smile, their brain mimics you and they smile on the inside. So you can have the satisfaction knowing that they're smiling with you, even if they might not show it. They might not even want it, but you just made someone smile just by smiling at them.
So let's see, another one is what we call busy hands. And it kind of goes along with the glide and the lazy surveyor, and basically, if I'm stepping out into my yard and there's a host of birds there going about their business, and my goal is to move through without triggering an alarm, one, aside from the owl eyes and the glide and all these other things, one thing that you can do is you're basically like pretending like you're busy doing something else. Like you don't even notice the birds, necessarily, but you're aware of them. But you might even pretend like your feet, like if they're eating, like they're in your yard, like pecking at the worms and whatnot, and they see you, like the robin stops, maybe puffs up a little bit and is looking right at you. You could stop, turn your body away from them a little bit so you're not facing them directly, and then just pretend like you're eating too. Like, oh yeah, look at that. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that is some good stuff. Yeah, totally. And if you do that, they'll watch you, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're good. Yeah, doesn't want to eat me. I mean, and I know it's funny, but it's for real. You're getting into the mind of the birds here and thinking about like, okay, like what do I do? Huh?
And not just birds either. I mean, deer. If you're getting near deer, and they start watching you, just start feeding, and the deers will calm down. Or they might be less. They might run away, not as quickly.
A lot of times, we, especially like modern people, will hold tension in our body without even being aware of it. Like it's just always there. Like there's some part of you that is always kind of, maybe it's in your shoulders or different places. And so this one, we call it drop the dime. And so the way it works is, imagine that you're holding a dime firmly between your butt cheeks. And so what you want to do is just relax and drop the dime. And like drop the dime is a really funny and good reminder to just let that tension go. Like feel that you are holding tension and let it go. Because holding tension, they'll notice. They'll notice that you're doing that. If you're relaxed, then it makes it easier for them to relax. That's a list of the honoring routines right there. And I encourage you to use it.
So one thing that I just wanted to share with you all is one of the challenges of teaching a class outside is there's so much to see and hear and look at. And, as you've noticed, like I just can't stop turning around and just be like, oh, what's going on over there? But that's also beneficial because I'm modeling behavior. Like, I want you all to go outside and constantly be noticing everything. And so in doing so, I'm modeling what I want everyone to do, which is go outside and react and respond and pay attention to everything that's going on. One of my mentors, John Young, who I learned from this bird language from, he spends a lot of time in the Kalahari Desert, spending time with the Bushmen and learning about them, because they are, on this planet, like the most connected human beings to nature. They are just totally connected 24 hours a day. And he talks about going tracking with the Bushmen and how the Bushmen will hear, they always go tracking, go hunting, in a group. They never go hunting alone. They always go hunting in a group, and they're just walking, in the bush in a single file line, and they'll hear a bird alarm go off, and you'll see every single head go, simultaneously. They'll all turn and hear the sound. And that's what I'm going for. That's the goal that I'm going for, is like when we're in this group and the robin with tutting right over there, I want this whole group to be like, why is that robin tutting? Why is that bird making that sound? Why is that insect flying over there? That's what I want. For not just for this group, but for the entire human species, and especially all the children. I want all the children in our community to be that connected, where a bird makes a sound and they don't even think about it. They just instantly turn towards the sound. That's where I'm trying to get us to.
Now might be a good time to go ahead and take another 3 to 5 minute break. And so, like, if you need to use the restroom or whatever, now's the time. And again, just listen for the crow call and know that we're going to be gathering up back there on the deck. Yeah, so the honoring routines, we've got the owl eyes was one. Owl eyes, look at those fingers. Glide, or fox walk, but I prefer glide for birds. Deer ears was another one. Lazy surveyor. Gratitude, smile authentically, busy hands, and last but not least, drop the dime. Like, the number one technique for getting like your personal energy to a calm place, which will in turn impact how the birds respond to you, is gratitude. Definitely. Like that, I would put that one at the top of the list. Like, if you only do one, go ahead and count your blessings. Take the time to think about what you're feeling grateful for. And as far as things to not do, like things to avoid doing for the sake of birds' comfort, one would be to not, like I had mentioned down there, don't look directly at them. Like, if you want them to feel relaxed, don't look directly at them. And don't point, don't move quickly, don't act nervously, and don't get too close. Like, if you do all those things, like, you might be surprised at, like, it's this really, it takes time, it takes intention, but the result is this new and distinct relationship. Like, it's so easy, I know for me, to discount the birds. Like, I've got stuff going on. Like, when I walk out the door, I'm headed to the car, and I've got somewhere to go, right? And it doesn't matter what the birds are doing. Like, if there's a robin feeding, then okay, well, see you later, robin. I might not even notice you. But it's a choice. And that's a lot about what this class is about, is to recognize that you actually can build a relationship with them. And the more you tune in and choose to engage that relationship, the more that you're going to experience.
So one thing, I was talking to a few people in the food line, but another woman that we teach this class with, from Athens, Georgia, named Sarah Hubbard. What's unique about her is she's gone to the level of having relationships with individual animals. Not species, but individual animals. Like, she has names for them, she knows them, she knows the cardinal outside her bedroom window, she knows the raccoon, she knows the squirrel, and she knows them intimately. And that, to me, is my highest goal, is to have relationships. So it's not about, another thing I was talking to folks about was birding in this day and age is largely a sport. How many notches on your belt can you get? How many birds can you identify? And for me, it's not a sport, it's a relationship. What is the quality of my relationship with that individual animal? And that, to me, is the highest goal with bird language.
We live in the woods up near Boone, and we have these cardinals that pretty much year round. It's worse in the spring, but it's year round. Wake us up in the morning, and they start early, just jumping at the windows.
Yeah.
And whether they're in bed, I mean, that they can start when it's almost dark, but certainly once the sun is up. And I'll notice if I'm on my desk at my computer, that really precipitates an interest for one of them to come up to one of those windows and bang on. And they hit it hard. You wonder sometimes you're going to break it. Sometimes there's stuff that comes out of their mouth, when they hit the window hard enough. What I'm wondering, is that a territorial thing? Do you have any input on that?
It's the same as the song sparrow going for the bumper here. They're seeing their reflection in the window. They're interpreting it as another competing bird of the same species, and so it's an aggressive.
They're trying to get rid of it, and it just, whatever they do, it doesn't seem to leave.
It won't go away. They just keep attacking it. It won't go away. Let's go back to the birds that have been around for 66 million years. How long has glass or mirrors been around? Right. They didn't evolve with glass or mirrors, They evolved with water. They probably figured that one out, though, by now. Yeah. They've figured out water. They haven't figured out glass.
I've had to put bags over the mirrors in my car. They just
Yeah.
That helps.
Any other last questions before we close out?
Yeah, just we have towies too, and I realized that there's enough where we're on an edge of woods and open, and so I'm realizing there could be all sorts of watch out if I'm near their nest, which is in the ground. So is there any way that I can, short of just sitting there forever trying to figure out where their nest is, just by watching them, is there a way to know?
The shortcut is the honoring routine. When you go to observe them, utilize those techniques, and it will generate greater ease, and they'll behave naturally. You'll drop to your surroundings will drop to baseline more quickly. So that's the shortcut to observation.
Okay. And weed eating and lawn mowing and things like that, where you might not see until you're on top of something. That's just humans being crafty, right? Basically.
It's humans being humans, I wouldn't put a value judgment on it, but yeah. I mean, some people would argue that humans are predators. 2 minutes. Yeah.
Really quick question. I've seen nuthatch put his wings out and do the beak and go back and forth at a bigger bird. Are there other birds? Because I've never seen another bird assert that I'm bigger and I'm snapping at you part of it. Is there other smaller songbirds or such that do that type of behavior?
Species behavior changes so much from species to species that I'm sure anything you can think of, there's some bird that does it. I can't think of one, but probably exists.
But do I have a favorite bird? I do. My favorite bird is the Carolina wren. Yeah. It hangs out all year. They're very present. They tried to nest on my front porch, and as much as I love them, I had to say no. I saw it was. They were 2 days into it, and I was like, no, guys. I know how this goes. I know you think this was a good spot because I was away for a couple days, but if I let you build your nest there, then every time I come in and out the front door, you're going to be frightened and you're going to leave, and it's just going to be super stressful for you. Like, it's better just to start over, build your nest somewhere else. Even though I would love to sit here and watch you in your nest, I don't want that for you, because you're not going to like it. We're not going to become friends. Like, you're never going to just relax as much as I would like you to. I picked their nest up and moved it, and they built another one.
In a potting soil bag right now.
Yeah.
One cool thing about Carolina wrens is they'll build multiple nests as decoys.
Sound on that Carolina wren.
The sound of it? There's a lot of variation, but the mnemonic I use is chirpity, 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 choo. Yeah.
Cherries, cherries, cherries too.
Yeah, there you go.
Really loud.
Yeah.
It's really loud. Little bird, big sound. Yeah.
Well, thank you
Okay.
so much for being willing to spend this time with us.